Thanks again, Chance, for stopping by. Just for anyone who didn't read the bio that I sent to you guys, just a quick introduction to my buddy here. I basically just kind of took down what was on that website, and so Chance when he was younger, you played for the Colorado Rush DA program when the DA program was still a thing. In other words, by today's standards, it might as well have been considered the MLS Academy. In 2012, I didn't know about this. I didn't know about this, but in 2012, apparently you helped your Colorado Rush team win state, and then was also named the MVP. So that's pretty nice. And then when you graduated high school, you began your college career with Northeastern, where you're currently coaching at right now. During your freshman year, it said that you led the team in assists, and then during your sophomore year, you helped lead the team to become runner-ups in your regional championship game, which was the deepest run in your program's history. And then after your sophomore year, you transferred to the University of Wisconsin Parkside, which is an NCAA Division II school. And then you helped them win the GLIAC regular season, which is essentially like the regional, the regional group, right? If I'm getting that right. Yeah.
Yeah, just the conference tournament.
Yeah, the conference group. Yep. And then a couple years after you graduated, you became in the year 2020. You became the youngest general manager at the age of 23 for the USL2 Rush team, which is now called Flatirons Rush, right?
Correct.
Yep. And then a year or two after that, you began your Northeastern coaching career in August. Actually, a year after that, in August of 2021, and it's been 2 seasons since, 2 years since, 2.5 years since, and so far you've been pretty successful, and that's just one of the few accomplishments that Chance has accomplished throughout his young professional administrative career. And I'm, again, Chance, thank you again for making time to do this. I've been trying to get, Chance knows that I've been trying to get him to talk to you guys for quite some time now. I wanted Chance to come when Brian and Michael came to talk to you guys last season, but the timing just didn't work out. So I'm glad the timing's worked out, and I'm glad Chance made time throughout all of his busy schedule to talk to you guys today. So thank you again, Chance.
No, thanks for having me. I appreciate that. And man, you did your research. So
yeah, like I said, it was just off that bio. It was just off that bio.
For sure. No, that's the first thing I think, first quick lesson for all you guys to know too, quickly, just straight off the bat is, hey, make sure you do your research and you know what you're doing before, you begin even trying to speak to any college coach whatsoever. So that's a great example right there. But yeah, let's dive into it, Calvin.
Cool. All right. I guess the first thing I want to talk about with you, Chance, is just kind of talk about your overall college playing experience, your overall college recruitment experience when you were younger. And I say that like that was 10 years ago. That was only like what 6 years ago now. What was the whole process like when you were initially deciding to go, and what eventually made you decide to go to Northeastern? To start.
Yeah, great question. I think my experience from when I was still in high school, looking to continue playing into college, I mean, it was a tough process. I didn't have anyone prior to me that had that experience. So I didn't have anyone to kind of help lead the way or guide me. So I was kind of just on my own. So I was just doing everything I could. We similar to you guys. I know you guys are going to some showcases. Calvin has told me some upcoming as well. Calvin, remind me again, what year are most of these kids graduating high school?
Most of these kids are planned to graduate in 2024 and 2025.
Okay, no, that's perfect timing actually. So yeah, I think right now it's a perfect opportunity to kind of just start reaching out. And I think what I did, and this is what I kind of encourage you all to do, is, kind of have your select schools and different programs across the country, and realize there's different levels as well. So there's going to be like, maybe everyone has aspirations, dreams at the NCAA Division I level. It's great. So maybe have 3 at that level, 3 at the NCAA Division II level, NAIA, maybe 3 at the D3, and then maybe a couple at the JUCO level as well. So that way, you're not, sending emails or sending blast emails to hundreds of coaches across the country either. So that's essentially what I kind of did was I did do my own research of each program, the level that they're at. Do they have my major that I want to study? So that I would reach out to those select schools, and yeah, made it personable. A big thing you got to also have is your highlight video. That's what I was able to have to show to the coaches. You can't just reach out and not have any highlight video there to show anything. So that's also another thing that I did. But yeah, then I think at the end of the day, it's just, your game speaks for itself. I played in a lot of showcases. Like Calvin said, I was lucky enough to play at the DA level, which is considered MLS Next now. But then I didn't play there my whole youth career. I also played just my local. We call it the Carl Youth Soccer. I think it's pretty much the same thing you guys are playing over there in Minnesota. So that's kind of what I did, showcases, and I stood out there. So that's when I kind of got some recognition from different programs across the country. And then I have a few buddies that were playing in college at the time. For example, Brian at going to Green Bay. So I kind of used the connections that I did have to gauge the interest of those coaches. So I had a few interests from various schools across the country. I'd say I had probably 4 or 5 good offers, narrowed it down, and I chose Northeastern because it's located in the state of Colorado, which is where I'm from. I'm from Denver. That's one thing. Number 2 is the cost. It was a lot cheaper to come here. 3, a lot more opportunity for me to potentially play straight away. If I went straight to a D1 program, I would be competing for minutes against players that had been there for 3, 4, sometimes even 5 years. Essentially, I'm playing against grown men, and I'm coming in and still very young and unestablished yet physically. So that's another thing with playtime. And then the coach, I really trusted the coach and what he had going on. And that's why I ended up choosing Northeastern.
Nice. And then, yeah, I mean, what you said was like pretty much reiterated what Brian kind of told us last season as well, is that, like, you want to go, everyone obviously has aspirations to play Division I, or go professionally right away, but it's ultimately where you think is going to be the best fit for you, where you're going to get the most game time, and that's kind of what Brian was kind of saying to us last season as well, right?
Yeah, no, that's a good thing. I'm close friends with Brian, and yeah, it's great to go Division I. Everybody has those dreams, and I think it sounds great on paper. But, I think what people don't see or realize is, man, the level isn't that different between the different divisions. I'd say obviously NCAA Division I, if they see you as a key player that can make an impact, or a good role player, that's great for you. But I wouldn't shut down any opportunities if a D2 school is interested, if an NAIA program is, even D3 or JUCO. So there's a lot of leagues that I'm sure we'll get to in more detail here at some point during this meeting. But yeah, I mean, don't shut yourselves out, or don't shut any opportunity out. Be polite, have a lot of have interest, and be proactive with everything you do. Know your stuff before anything ends up happening. And that's kind of what I encourage. Is there's so many great programs that are not even Division I that you guys would be really surprised about.
Yeah, and then after those first 2 seasons, after those first 2 years of college, what was the transfer process like? How did you ultimately decide to end up going to Parkside after that?
Great question. Yeah, so it's similar to how it was getting recruited to Northeastern. You just go through that process again, but this is a little bit of a twist because a lot of programs love recruiting out of JUCO programs. Calvin, if you don't mind, I kind of want to ask them why I say that. Some of your players, anyone can kind of speak up, but why do you guys think 4-year universities love recruiting out of JUCO programs?
Yep, you're good. You can ask whatever you want, and if anyone thinks they have an answer, feel free.
For sure. I'll repeat that one more time just in case. Why do you guys think I just said that a lot of four-year universities love recruiting out of JUCO programs? But yeah, experience. That's a huge one because essentially, a lot of these four-year programs, they want to win straight away. And I'm not saying they're going to, every recruiting class they have every year is going to be only JUCO players or only transfer players. No, that's not the case. But a lot of the connections that I do have, they love recruiting JUCO. Like they'll only have to recruit 5 or 6 every year, new players coming into the program every year. And they like to bring maybe 2, 3 of them because they know that they can come in and make an impact straight away. They have experience playing collegiately. They know how to balance a student athlete life. They know how the academics are working and just everything overall as a collegiate player. So and they're already playing against men, versus having a 17, 18-year-old or a team full of 17, 18-year-olds coming in fresh. They like to have a lot of JUCO players. So I guess with that being said, my recruiting process became a little easier going to Parkside. I did have a few options. Actually, I had an opportunity to go to Green Bay as well. I eventually turned that down because I found, Parkside's Division 1, Parkside's Division 2, Green Bay's Division 1 for you guys that didn't know. And I decided to go the route I did because I saw, a great opportunity, not only soccer wise, but academically at Parkside. And it made a lot of sense financially for me. They had my major and I just felt very comfortable with the situation. So for me, it wasn't just the title of D1. It was, okay, what I'm looking at the bigger picture. And that's why I ended up choosing Parkside, which at the end of the day, honestly, I'm very, very happy with it. And, I wouldn't have done anything any differently.
I think you made a good point, and just and we'll get to more of that later on when I ask you about it more. But I think you made a good point when it comes to choosing school, there's a lot more to process than the athletics part of it. Yeah, all the boys here, you have to make sure that you have to make sure that not only is the team a good fit for you, not only is the program a good fit for you, but you have to just make sure the school, like, it is school after all at the end of the day. And so you have to make sure that the school as a whole is a good fit for you academically, major wise. And some of you guys are sophomores, so you guys might not be thinking about that. But the juniors on this team and the sophomores that will eventually become juniors on this team, it's not too early to start thinking about what type of school or what type of things you guys might want to think about getting into moving forward before you think about playing soccer over there. So. Yeah, well, and we'll get to more of that in a second. But thanks again for the insight on your playing career. Now, I just want to transition over to your professional administrative career so far. And I just want to talk about your experience as a coach versus your experience as a coach for college and your experience as a general manager for a professional team. Just kind of explain if there are any similarities or differences in the processes between the two when it comes to picking talent or scouting and anything of the sort.
Great question. Yes. So I did have my experience straight out of college being on the administrative or executive side of professional or the professional ranks of soccer, being USL League 2. And essentially, if you guys don't know what that is, that's essentially just a summer league for the top collegiate players to go to every year in the summer to maintain a high level, stay very competitive, and improve their game within the top talents of other collegiate players in the country. And now with my college coaching job, first I'll say that USL League 2, being there in that role, it's kind of similar in a sense where we're working with collegiate players. We're having players from all over the country that come in to play with us in the summer. For example, I'll just name a few off the top of my head, but the different programs that came or their players came to play for us was like University of Kentucky, Portland. There were like a few JUCOs, players from JUCOs that came, NAIA programs, University of Alabama Mobile, South Carolina. I mean, just to name a few. So just very different levels. So essentially, we're still working with college kids, and in that aspect is very similar, um, and the same. I think what's different though is just kind of like on the backside of things, the administrative stuff is a lot more lenient over there at the USL League Two. You're just able to bring in these kids, and you don't have any restrictions to what you can do in terms of, oh, how many hours can we train? It's like, oh, what can we do, and stuff like that. So, but it is still working with these college kids. Now in my role on the backside of things, there's a lot. They're a lot more strict about eligibility, about how many hours you're allowed to train per week, about the amount of games you're allowed to play every season, and that's the only true differences I'd say. So, but yeah, I think that's to quickly sum it up. That's what it would be to answer your question there, Calvin.
Yeah, and I think you made a good point, and you can, and if you want, you can reiterate, you can kind of go into more detail about this, but that USL League Two team that you were the GM for, again, kind of explain what kind of players are coming through, like were they like just the backgrounds of those players, and like because that, like, we talked about this with Brian and Michael last year, but when Brian was playing with Michigan, and when Michael was playing with Green Bay or Madison,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the background of those players are basically from all over, right? It wasn't just all Division One, NCAA Division One, or anything of the sort. Like, just so kind of just explain more of like the type of background of the players you were dealing with and coming through as a GM there.
Yeah. So the roster consists of players that are at the NCAA Division One, Division Two, NAIA, and even the JUCO level. So all over the place. Players all over from America. We had players literally from the West Coast all the way down to the East Coast, and to the South as well. So, I mean, it's pretty wide open. It's almost like the Wild West every summer. These USL League Two teams can pull in any collegiate player they want, if it's a good opportunity for both parties, and that's exactly how it was for us too. And it's just like something that every collegiate player kind of wants to get into, and it's only selective group of guys get to go into each team every year, or every summer, and yeah, that's what I'd say about that. I think speaking about that, going into the college ranks, you guys right now our team consists of players out of, I'm assuming, Minneapolis, St. Paul area, or the surrounding cities, but then once you get into college, you're now competing or teammates with players from all over the world. Um, not only different states, but literally all over the world. And my team, for example, just to name a few countries represented within my team right now, we have players from obviously America, Brazil, Germany, France, England, Japan. I mean, just to name a few, and that's not even all the countries that we have represented here at Northeastern. And I know that's the same for very many other programs across the collegiate programs across the country. And so I remember this stat, and it's a stat with American high school kids and the percentage of how many of them are able to go on and continue playing collegiate soccer at all levels collegiately. Only 7% of them have the opportunity to continue playing or to continue being on a team. And I think that just shows like all the different people that, you are now kind of going up against.
Like pretty much what Brian and Michael were telling us last year is kind of just, if you're good, you're good. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter your background. It doesn't matter, the level that you played at before. If you're good, you're good, and you can play professionally. And especially all of you guys that are on my team right now. You guys know this. I've been very vocal about how talented each and every one of you guys are. And each of you guys can play professionally if you guys choose to, and all of you guys have the talent to do so. And so it's like, and then just a follow-up question to that, as far as the professional goes, and that's obviously sometime off in the future, but sort of just kind of thinking about, well, what are like, how does a player go about getting themselves involved with that type of things? Like, are there tryouts involved? Are there camps involved? Are there scouts that are just out there looking and just picking and choosing, or what is that process like to try and get involved in those activities?
Yes, so it is very different, different levels, and there's a lot of specific little rules depending on where you go. So like NCAA, all levels of NCAA, you know, those coaches can't even speak to players until, like, I don't know what the specific date is, but they have to look at a specific date. So like, let's just say, for example, I'm still in high school and I want to reach out to what's the St. Thomas is the new Division I men's program over there in Minnesota. I want to reach out to my sophomore year. They're not going to respond back to you because they're not allowed to. That's against the rules, and you could be the best player in the country and they still won't be able to respond back to you. So keep in mind, there's all those little restrictions that, you know, not many people think about. And, you know, I've heard kids like, oh, I reached out to this coach, but they're not interested in me. They didn't reach back out, or, oh, they just only sent me their ID camp information and that was it, you know. But, you know, maybe they are interested. They're just not allowed to speak to you yet. But I will say, you know, like NAIA and JUCO is different, where maybe you reach out to them and they can reach back out to you your sophomore year, your junior year. So it's quite different. There's a lot that goes into it. But I think my biggest advice there is kind of put yourself out there. And the best way to do so is via email. But with that email, you have to have a good highlight video. You must have a highlight video. With that highlight video in that email, you have to construct a well-written, you know, message to whatever coach or program that may be, and maybe have your highlight video attached to it. You may have, you know, your schedule attached to that. Let them know that you're going up to upcoming tournament showcase. Calvin, I think you mentioned you guys are going to Arizona soon. Is that President's Day tournament, or which tournament is that?
No, PDT already passed, but this one's a different one. It's called the AmFam Insurance Showcase, okay. And that's like in the northern area of Arizona.
Okay. Yeah. So I think since that's coming up, this is a perfect opportunity for each one of you to go onto the tournament, and they will have a list of college coaches that are going and attending the tournament. Take a look at all those, and then from those you can just like the emails need to be personal too. You know, you can't just send like, hi coach, and then just send like a generic email to the same exact email to every other coach, because we all know what it's going to be. And, you know, we don't even go past that first line. Most of those coaches don't at every single level, I promise you. And so you need to make sure they're personalized and they're quick, short, simple, to the point. You have your highlight video ready to go, and they're going to keep you in the back of their head. So since you guys have this opportunity coming up, this showcase, that's where you should do that, is look up who's coming, look up the program, and do your research before reaching out. And yeah, I encourage you to do that. And then you'll also send out your schedule for that weekend, and then, you know, see if they can come out and catch a game or two. So that's what I would do immediately. But in the long run, yeah, continue to reach out. Highlight video is going to be the most important thing with your email. And then they don't get back to you, that's fine. And then follow up, show that you're interested, and maybe in 1 or 2 weeks, just follow up and be like, hey coach, just following up, I sent you this profile. And then that way they know you're interested, because, you know, I think it's pretty obvious when someone sends the same email to 50 coaches across America, and they're just waiting for the few that bite and reply back.
Have you received one of those?
Oh, all the time. And to be honest, you know, sometimes if I really like the player, yeah, I will respond back. But for the most part, I'm like, oh, he just sent this to every coach in the country. It's like, I want to feel, or I want to know that they're interested in us. So when they send a follow up and they're still personal about that message that they sent out to me, I'm like, okay, they want to be here. They've done their research, and that's how we recruit. We're a little bit more broad because we're a JUCO. But I promise you, like I'm close friends, and I speak to, you know, quite a few D2 Division I programs. They're so specific with who they're recruiting, and they're not going to recruit a kid that, you know, just send the same thing out to every coach. I want to get into the ID camp thing. With
Sure.
the
Yeah, go
ID
ahead.
camp, it is good. It can be good depending on the situation. With that being said, you are able to go out and play in front of those coaches or that program in person. That's what they'll get to check you out. Your game will speak for itself. For example, a couple weeks ago, I was at the University of Denver ID camp. That's a Division I program. They're always a top 25 Division I program. They invite a few other coaches to go out there to scout and recruit, and they've taken kids from their camp. I'll be honest, they get about 250 to 300 kids every camp that they do host. So it's quite difficult at the same time, and it's quite expensive. I think it was like $200-$300 for each player. So, but they do take a honest look at you. But you have to realize they are very, very picky, and you have to stand out in front of 300 kids, out of 300 kids. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I'm saying if it's somewhere you really want to be, yes, it's a great opportunity to go out and put yourself out there. But you have to make sure that it's the right program that you're going to those camps for. Me, for example, we had a camp last spring, and he was our first signing this year. And he was a standout player at this camp, and we loved him. We see him as a impact player for our program, so we went ahead and signed him. And that's just one, great example. But our camp is not 300 kids; it's 50 to 100 kids. So there's a little bit of a difference there too. And it's kind of up to you. But yeah, eventually at the end of the day, it's up to how you perform.
What would you advise young players that are attending maybe their first or second ID camp to do or not to do when it comes to going out there and performing right now?
Yeah, at the camp, it's just like, don't complicate the game. I mean, just express yourself, just have fun, express yourself, and just be competitive. I think that's what coaches love to see is you go out and do your play your hardest and play to the best of your ability, honestly. And your game is just going to speak for itself. You want to do things that show that you can be impactful, without trying too much. Some players you see, they just try to impress too much. All they want to do is dribble. And I mean, us coaches were like, oh, okay, we get it. Yeah, you're trying to showcase yourself, but you have to understand, those certain moments to do so. And yeah, just go out, have fun, work your butt off, and I think that's kind of the biggest advice I'd give there.
And yeah, I think that's pretty similar to what as a youth coach here right now. That's pretty similar to what I would say at tryouts is like, when these boys have been younger, sometimes there have been some players that me as a coach have missed, not particularly because that player that I missed wasn't good enough, but at tryouts, it's kind of the same thing when it comes to an ID camp. Like, I want to see you do things the right way, and things like, hey, if you have, yeah, coaches want to see you keep possession, but if you have 20 yards of space in front of you and you choose to make a 5-yard pass backwards, then that's not really showing the coaches or showing showing anyone else who's watching or the program or the team that you want to get a chance for. That's not going to show them anything. So but there's obviously a balance, right? But you still want to go there and obviously keep it like things like that, and knowing that, hey, keeping possession is obviously good and what coaches want to see, but they also want to see what you do in space as well. So those are things that we have to as players, and things that even I struggled with when I was younger and trying to and going to tryouts and going to trials and ID camps too, right?
Of course, yeah, and I completely agree. Kind of being with my experience with the USL2, us hosting tryouts there, and here collegiately, we want guys that can come in and make a difference. Not just a guy that can do the same thing everybody else does. Anybody can just play it safe and just do simple things, right? But as you go higher up the ranks, getting to the collegiate level, maybe playing USL League 2, trying to get a professional contract, they want guys that are killers, that are impactful. You can be the most technical, you can be the most skillful, but if all you're gonna do is just receive and pass and receive and pass the whole entire time, like that's not gonna be noticed. They're gonna think to themselves like, oh, I can bring in any player that can do this. This is normal. This is easy. They want guys that can thread the needle. They want guys that are dangerous in front of goal. They want guys that are killers. They want guys that are impactful, that have the intensity, that just that extra it in them. And that's who we are trying to look for as well. It's like not just guys that can go out there and just be a body on the field. So yeah, I completely agree.
Nice. All right. I think we can transition into kind of just the broader aspects of college ball. I think let's see, where do I want to start? Let's start with just explaining the differences between NCAA, NAIA, and JUCO, and just sort of like the level scaling, like as far as what is NAIA Division One kind of equate to in terms of the NCAA level or the JUCO level, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I think I remember this graphic that was explaining the different levels as well. I wish I had that graphic ready. Actually, I might just draw it up, but I don't know. All right, I'll just explain it this way.
Yeah, you're good. Go ahead.
Grab a pen.
They're smart enough; they can figure something out.
So, okay, I'm gonna draw here. So the Division One, that's Division One.
And then afterwards, just kind of don't worry about getting too detailed about it. Like obviously there are some JUCO programs that can beat NCAA Division II things and stuff like that, but yeah, but just kind of give like the general understanding of other of what the level scaling is like.
So right here, so I put the strongest right here. The strongest is on this side. You're not as strong. I'm talking about the level of play. The square, that's Division One. So there's still a little space. Or I'm sorry, the circle is Division One. So there's a space here where the top Division One programs are very, very strong, but then the top Division II programs are up here, and then there's that. So on and so forth. Same with the D3 level. Same with the NAIA level. Same with the JUCO level. And I'm just like gonna. I remember seeing this graphic like that. This is so true, and everybody thinks it's like no, it's purely Division One, straight down Division II, Division III, NAIA, JUCO. But that's not the case. It's exactly like this quick example that I sketched up for you guys. So, like I know a few examples where NAIA programs in Wisconsin, I'm not going to name names, but they play Division One programs and they completely dominated the match and win 4-0 an NAIA program against an NCAA Division One. That's the same with Division II beating D1s. That's the same with JUCOs beating a D1. This JUCO program I can name out of Kansas. They're called Cali Community College. They played the University of Tulsa last spring, 2022. They beat them as well. So I mean, the levels, like not every JUCO is going to be good, but the top JUCOs will be strong. Not every NAIA will be good, but the top NAIAs will be strong. I will say with D1 programs, almost most D1 schools are going to be very strong. That's pretty much the difference there. So, that's kind of like the example I'll give, like with our program. I mean, we send players on like pretty easily to continue playing at the D2 level, D1 level, NAIA level. And because of our results against them too, in 2002 alone, we had 6 games against NCAA Division II universities. Now I want to ask this to one of the players. What do you guys think our record was against 6 NCAA Division II programs in 2022? Let's see what you guys think our record was.
Don't be shy. Let's take a guess.
Okay, I see some 4 wins, 2 losses. I see another 4-2. Okay, that's pretty close, pretty good. I will say we tied 5 and lost one. The one that we lost, the score was 3-4, and that was against a top 25 D2 team. A few of the other D2 teams, I'm not going to name them again, but they're also top 25 programs. So that kind of explains the level of some places that you go, and you just gotta honestly do your research and know, which ones are strong, which ones are, kind of still, working on themselves, or which ones kind of suit, your level as well. And any level that you play at collegiately, it's tough to get into. So, in any program you get into, and if it's the right fit, that's huge props to you guys.
And on that note, all right, and this isn't to brag or anything, but Chance's program right now, they're one of the top JUCO schools in their division. So just some ideas for some of the guys that are thinking about anything right now. Colorado, right? Was it Sterling, Colorado?
Yeah, we're in a small town, Sterling, Colorado, about 2 hours, just under 2 hours away from Denver. But yes, we are a nationally recognized team. I'm thankful to have a good group of guys, players around us that are just hardworking and bought into what we got going on. So, yeah, I think we were receiving votes this year. Last year ranked as high as 18th, and then the highest this Northeastern has ever been ranked nationally is number 12 in the country.
And just to sort of segue off that, like right now, and I know you've only been there for about 2 years now, but in your short career so far there, have you experienced anything where the work has helped jumpstart a player's career or anything like that? And what are some examples of that so far, if there are any at all?
Oh, can you say that again? I think your audio cut out a little bit from my side.
But yeah, I just wanted just to segue off of what we just talked about. But I know you've only been there for about 2 years now. But have you, in your short career, have you experienced anything where your program has helped jumpstart a player's career, and have helped them either get to even if it again transfer to a Division II or Division I school, or even one of your students or one of your players got to play professionally in a USL League 2 or USL League 1 team or anything of the sort?
Yeah. That's a good question. Yeah, I mean, kind of being here, I think it makes it easy on me. I think the program is already established, but especially made it easy on the players to kind of jumpstart what they do next after their time here. And kind of the network and connections were already established. So I think that just made all of our jobs easier. But man, you'd be surprised how often I'm getting calls, emails, texts from, very many different four-year universities, and then as well, and it's kind of amazing to see, and that's a testament to show the hard work that all of our individuals put in, and then but it's just like, when the team wins, everybody else wins as individuals, and I think that's a big thing for us as well. Not only that, but we do have 3 professional soccer teams in Colorado. The Colorado Rapids being in the MLS, the Colorado Springs Switchbacks being USL Championship, and then the Northern Colorado Hailstorm, which is USL League 1. So 3 in our backyard. So, anytime someone collegiately in the state, pops off, eyes are always on you. And, we send players, for example, to a program in Colorado Springs, Division II, top 25 D2 program. We just had a player literally sign with them a couple of weeks ago. And then 2 players last year that are starting for them this past year, or this past season as well. They have the opportunity to go train with preseason with Colorado Springs Switchbacks in the USL Championship. So, I mean, there are those opportunities, and, that's all quite exciting as well. To have that in your backyard. No one quite signed yet, because, trying to go professional, kind of the stars have to align, and sometimes, you need some luck to go your way, but we did have those opportunities, along with USL League 2 and NPSL opportunities for our guys to go play in every summer, and I mean, it's just all kind of been there, and we're just really fortunate that this program has always historically been very strong.
Nice. Can we talk about the one player you told me about that you got at all, or is that still kept a secret yet?
Joey?
No,
Is
not
that,
Joey, but the player that you got from the academy, that one academy.
oh,
From
that's still
Oh, it's still okay. That's fine.
it's not officially official yet, but hey, I will say, okay, I'll talk about the academy. Sure. So right now we are recruiting some very high level caliber players. I want to ask, are you guys familiar with like the French professional league? Like obviously PSG, there's Marseille, um, there's Lyon. You guys familiar with that? Your players follow professional soccer, right, Calvin?
They should be. They should at least know some of the big names.
Yes. Okay, I'm assuming you guys all know Marseille. So I am actually been recruiting a player out of the Marseille Academy as well, and he's very, very like close to signing. There's just some paperwork side of things, administrative side of things that we're hoping that can get passed through. Once it all does, and hopefully it all works out, then he's going to officially be coming here. So, I mean, we're recruiting very high caliber players, and people are quite surprised. They're like, "Oh, how do you do this as a JUCO program?" I mean, like it's college soccer at the end of the day, and it's much more affordable to come to school here, and you get to come in here, make an immediate impact, and we have proven success in the past, even before I was a coach. So that's how we're able to kind of bring in players, along those lines. I do target players that play for professional academies, but after they're done, after their under 19 career, they only sign maybe one professional kid every 1 or 2 years, and that's really tough to do. Like think of Mbappe, he was one of the many talented players on his youth academy team, but he's the one that got picked out of the rest. And the rest, they're like, okay, it's either we play in the lower leagues as adults and try to make our way up as a professional, try to find a professional contract, or we go to America and play college soccer. And I target those ones that want to come to America and play soccer. So
Yeah, when you told me that, I thought that was pretty cool. So, yeah, I mean, I guess, I guess one of the last couple of things that I just want to talk about is sort of just what are some other things outside of soccer that you look towards a player, when deciding that you want to give them give them a chance to play with your program. Do any of those factors really mean anything? Like just like academics, off-field activities, like extracurriculars, anything, just name a few.
yeah, so I think academics obviously going to be very huge. For me, I mean, we're a JUCO, so we're a place where it gives people an opportunity to have like a second chance, let's say. Well, but we also bring in guys that maybe are struggling academically, stuff like that. But that's not what we're only known for. I mean, majority of our guys, like we have a team GPA of 3.3 or higher the past couple years, and all of our graduating sophomores right now have no less than a 3.8 GPA. So it's quite high. So for me, even though we're a JUCO, I still bring in guys, and I still look at guys that have a high GPA, because I don't want to bring them in and they're struggling academically, or they're not focused academically, because you have to be eligible to continue playing. But I don't want to meet the bare minimum academically. I want to make sure they excel, because if, let's just say, I have a 3.8 GPA after my time here versus somebody else that has a 2.5 GPA, there's going to be way more doors for that individual that has a 3.8 GPA versus the 2.5, because other programs, they're not going to trust that individual to get their stuff handled. They're not going to be able to babysit each individual and make sure, like, hey, did you turn in your assignment, or are you showing up to class? Like, no, it's college. So even here at the JUCO level, we're not nearly as strict as I know some top level programs, D2, D1, but still same here. I'm looking for kids that are academically, sound, that want to work hard. And we don't expect anyone to get a 4.0 GPA, straight A's here. But what we do expect is that everyone shows up to their class early, sit front and center. They're engaged. They're not on their phones. They're paying attention. They're always doing their assignments, studying, and that's the most we expect for it. If you get a 2.8 GPA, but you're doing all that, hey, we're happy. So that's what a big thing we look for. The next big one, I know for sure, is your personality, your character, and your attitude. When things are not going your way, how are you going to react to adversity? And trust me, there is a lot that you're going to be surprised about. So we look for the ones that are going to be like reacting positively about certain things, and as a coach perspective, we, like for me especially, I don't want to continue to deal with constant headaches left and right on off the field things about, oh, a player is negative, or a player keeps talking bad about the food in the cafeteria, or they're talking bad about the city that they're now living in, or about whatever it may be, So we're looking for guys that, hey, how do you handle things that don't go your way? How do you handle adversity? And what's your character? What's your personality like? And those are kind of the biggest things outside of just soccer alone that we look hugely for, and that we truly try to get to know in each individual.
I think that's a good point, because I just want to reiterate that if you go if like, for example, we're going to Arizona and we go there, and I'm not expecting us to do this, but if it happens and we end up losing all 4 games that we play, how all of you boys react to losing that much in a row, especially, is going. Just because you lose games doesn't mean that coaches aren't around to still look at you, right? And just because you lose games doesn't mean that you should be going out and not giving it your all. Despite if we lose 2 games in the third group stage game, doesn't matter. Then that doesn't mean you guys get to go around and mess around and screw around in that third game. It's how do you guys deal with that adversity? And how can you guys bounce back from that, even if you happen to lose that third game again? So again, we don't go to a showcase and expect that winning is the only thing that the coaches are going to look at. Obviously it helps, right? But even if we manage to lose all 4 games that we're going to be allowed to play, then as long as you guys are keeping your head down and focusing on the game and focusing on your own game, then for the most part, college coaches, like Chance said, will be looking at that as well, right?
Yep, just everything. And we just kind of want to, everyone can be happy, feel good when things are going well, but what do you do when things aren't going well? And that may go for maybe results aren't going your way, maybe you're having a bad game, maybe your team is struggling, maybe you're not getting as much play time as you think you would want or like, no matter what it is, we want to see how you handle the adversity and just your personality overall. So if you do have the opportunity to speak with a coach, just smile, be engaged, try to give, have a good conversation, elaborate your answers when you do speak, have a few questions prepared to throw out here and there when you do speak to them, because they want to see what your character is like, and they're investing in you, not only as a footballer, but as a human being, as a student. So they want to know, like, hey, is this person just gonna come in and they're gonna be good for the team? Are they gonna get along? How's their personality? So yeah, all that combined, it's a lot to balance, but these are all things we all look for.
I think that's all the questions that I had for you. You pretty much answered any of the ones that I listed for you, Chance, that we didn't get to. It's most likely because we've already answered most of them.
Sure.
You've already answered most of them. But otherwise, is there anything else you want to, any last piece of advice or any last bits of information that you think would be insightful for these guys?
Definitely. Hey, I'm gonna quickly summarize biggest, most important things that I encourage you all to do. 1, obviously continue working on your game. Your game is always going to speak for itself, and there's millions of kids across the world that are trying to play collegiate soccer. So that's the biggest one. Two, make sure you get your highlight video. In your highlight video, your best highlights must be first. For me as a college coach, we're very busy. We get hundreds of emails. I'm a JUCO and I still get hundreds of emails every day. Imagine a D1 program. It's not gonna catch their eye if your best highlights are not first. So they do 3-4 highlight video. Your very best have to be the very first at the beginning. Third, make sure you have your email well constructed, it's well written, and it's personal. Pick 3 colleges at every level that you can see yourself fitting in. So do your research, and I think about it this way. If you're gonna ask your girlfriend to prom, or you're gonna ask someone to prom, or you're gonna ask someone to be your girlfriend, you're gonna do your research about them, you're gonna look them up on social media, you're gonna know what they like, what they're into, right? I think that's normal. Same with how you're looking into college programs. Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, NAIA, JUCO. Look them up on social media, look them up on their website, look how well they did, and get a good feel for what's going on before you continue on to keep speaking with them. Personal email, yeah, I mentioned that, and I think that's all huge. And then your game is just going to speak for itself from there. I think there was a question here. Kind of mentioned it. No more than 5 minutes your highlight video. Most college coaches, we're not going to watch the whole thing. Like, honestly, go for 1 minute. The most I will do is 2 minutes if I really like it, but I'm not going to watch the whole thing. So that's how long you should do it.
If you guys have any questions, feel free to chat, or you can unmute yourself and just let them know. We'll stay here for about another 5-6 minutes here, maybe less than that, if nothing's happening. But yeah, go ahead, guys. The floor is yours.
One more thing, while you guys are thinking about questions, if you do send out an email and they don't respond, wait a week, 2 weeks, follow up again, and be personal about it, and be polite and well constructed once again, but it just truly shows your interest that, hey, I want to be at St. Thomas, or St. Cloud, your guys' Division 2 program, and it kind of, if they see your name pop up a few times in the email, they're gonna kind of remember it in the back of their heads.
I do want to add on to the fact, and again, I just want to reiterate, because again, we talked about this last year when we talked to Brian and Mike. But because Brian and Mike's college process was so much more different to each other's, because of the fact that Brian wasn't the one getting all the stats on, and Mike was, as far as the goals went and the assists went and all that jazz. And I just want to reiterate about the fact that based on what we've been talking about so far, chances that and you can confirm this for me if you feel like it's true, but a lot of the recruiting process comes down to each your own work, your own individual work. Unless you're the guy that again is getting all the statistics out, for the most part, college coaches are not going to go out of their way to get to know, or just some random premier level youth player. Like, you have to go out of your way and be prompt about it, and be initiative about it, and to give yourself that opportunity. You kind of have to bet yourself. You kind of have to risk it all for yourself, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I was just speaking we speak to a lot of kids like this in general, as college coaches going to a lot of camps. And a funny example that a good friend of mine made, he's the head coach at Biola University, and the example that he gave was like the girlfriend example, right? If you want to pursue someone or a girlfriend, you're just not going, oh, hopefully they see me and they like me. No, that's the same with a college coach. That's rare. It can happen, but it's not gonna be that easy. What you're gonna do, if you're interested, you're gonna go talk to that individual. You're going to do your research on them, and you're not just going to go and be like, hey, you want to be my girlfriend? Or you're not going to go to a college coach and be like, hey, I'm interested in your program. Let me be on your team. No, like it's a much more deeper than that. So you have to be proactive. You have to do your research. You have to put yourself out there. You have to, get them to see you. And if they don't respond to like I said, to the first email, okay, follow up a week later. They're going to see your name pop up a few times. If they don't respond after that, you maybe attend, if you really like that program, attend their ID camp, or you see that they're coming to a showcase, let them know, send them your schedule, send them your highlight video and things like that. And, eventually, maybe not, it's not always going to be a fit for every single program that you reach out to. So they may not just be interested in general. But if you keep doing your research, if you keep going at it, you have to put yourself out there. You can't just expect them to all come to you, because that's quite rare and that doesn't happen very often. If it does, okay, that's good for you. But you want to continue seeking those opportunities, and the best way to do so is like the girlfriend example. Hey, if you're interested, you have to go ahead and do something to get them to catch, to catch their eye, and showcase yourself. So yeah, it's a lot of work. It's not easy, but at the end of the day, if you can get them to remember you, or get on a phone call with them, or come out to a game, those are steps towards the right direction.
All right, and then the last thing I'll leave you guys off with is just when Chance and I are talking, and obviously Chance is a JUCO coach, and so he has a bit of, and so he might have a little bias towards it, but again, we don't want to kind of scare you guys off and not shoot for the stars, and not aim for Division I, because like I've told you guys before, all of you guys are talented enough to play at that level. It's just a matter of if you guys want to or not. But we just want to remind you guys that there are other options that isn't D1 or die, right? Your career isn't over if you don't play Division I or get pulled into an academy straight away at this level at your age. And so there are especially in this country, and for you guys now, there are so many more opportunities for you guys now to reach another level and to earn money doing this as well at another level than we had when Chance and I were younger as well. Again, so I just want to remind you guys that it's not D1 or bust, it's not D1 or die. There are a lot of opportunities, but again, we want you guys to reach for the stars. We want you guys to aspire to play at that level. But again, if it doesn't happen, it's not life or death. So right.
Yeah, and I think the D1 or bust mentality is what's kind of ruining college soccer for American kids. And that's why, for example, for me, I do my best to recruit local out of Colorado. But there's many of these kids where they just go unnoticed, or they're hidden gems and they go unseen, but they don't want to play JUCO. They rather not play college soccer at all. And it's kind of disappointing. And I've seen it. I'm like the example I gave, I'm able to pull individuals that play at professional academies in Europe and come play here at a very, very high level. After they're done here, they're able to transfer on and move on to those programs. And I think, like the example that I gave, the difference in the level isn't that drastic at all. So most of the part, it's the same. A lot of high level JUCO programs. So, I think you should really be open to it, and don't only think I'm D1 or I'm 100%. I have to go D1 or it's nothing, or I have to play in the MLS or not, or it's nothing. No, I think that's great. Yes, have those goals. Continue to do so, and that's awesome. And everybody, we want you to, but don't close out any of those opportunities. And I will say this, for example, there's a lot of movement of college coaches in the college game. I know so many JUCO coaches that make a jump immediately to the D1 level, to the D2 level, and it's always movement all the time. So, for example, for me, there are a few opportunities that I was luckily able to have, but then I decided, I wanted to stick it out here and wait for the right one. And then at the NAI level, I could have went to, but I believe in what we got here, and I want to continue building what we got, and I believe it's strong, and I believe that we can do something well with it. We have other coaches within our conference that they're here for a couple years, and boom, they already made the move, the jump up to a Division I program, or someone's like, oh, I don't want to go Division I, I want to stay Division II. And I think that's the case that like you guys should understand is like, don't shut down any coach that reached out to you. Be engaged, show your interest, and do your research, and see if it's truly a right fit, and be respectful, because there's going to be those few NAIA or JUCO coaches that speak with you your junior year, but then by the time you are a sophomore in college, they're coaching at your dream D1 school, your dream D2 school. There's a lot of movement all the time, and not only that, all those coaches talk to each other. The amount of people that I was able to become friends with all over the country, it's been quite amazing, and the network that I do have. And sometimes they ask, or we talk, because we go to a lot of recruiting events together. We talk about different players, and they're like, oh, and then when you remember a name and another coach, you hear him talking about him, you're like, oh, I remember this kid, and this is what he did. This is my experience with him. And that makes them question it. So that just all goes back to saying, you just never know what's going to happen, and it may turn out to be a great opportunity that you never truly realized. So I think that's kind of like what I have to say, to follow up with Calvin and what he was just saying right there.
Again, there's a lot of important bits of information that Chance was able to give us today. And again, thanks again, Chance, for your time again. I'm sure all the boys here appreciated it. And yeah, I mean, anything else before we head out of here, Chance?
No, everything's good. Appreciate your guys' time. Eventually at the end of the day, it's up to you and how serious you handle all this. So all the best with your guys' individual careers, and good luck the rest of the season.
All right. Thanks, Chance.
Cool. Thanks for having me.
Yep.
All right.